she go. Who you know that this good in a P? Oh, you wanna record and rewind like it's T. Oh, baby, I keep you caught up like in reload.
From the basements of the beautiful Chrysler building, where they never check our vaccination papers, this is the Scammies, where each episode we look at a scam. What's a scam? It's a trick, it's a ploy, designed to take your money. We're trying to make you a little bit smarter so it doesn't happen to you. This week's scammer is Gina Champion-Cain, a real looker based in San Diego who pulled off the largest Ponzi scheme ever in San Diego, $400 million. But before we get into that, a little background in the business of government. What? The government's in business, you say? Absolutely. Every time you stay in a hotel room, the government's getting paid. Every time you order a drink from that restaurant, the government's getting paid. Now, they don't charge a per drink fee. Instead, they charge a big application fee, up to $15,000. Then they take 1 year to approve it. And then an annual fee of up to $12,000. And you need to put up that annual fee into an escrow account, kind of like a safe deposit box, so that when you're approved, they can take that money right away. Now, that's some background to help you understand this scam. Back to Gina. Gina lives in San Diego, and she's a restaurateur. Owns some of the real popular San Diego restaurants, runs in the San Diego crowd. She's a real looker, always dressed to the nines, beautiful jewelry, beautiful clothing. Hangs out with the top politicians, the other restaurateurs, the businessmen. And from the outside, she's looking very successful. In fact, she owns 40 businesses, not just restaurants, but pizza joints, coffee shops, even a surf supply company, because that's what you do when you live in San Diego. And from the outside, it's looking successful, but there's a dirty little secret at the restaurant business. It's tough. It's tough to turn a profit. You might have one or two locations that turns a profit, but if you've got lots of restaurants, you've probably got some dogs. It's a tough business because of food costs and fickle customers and employee theft. And that was Gina's problem. A lot of her businesses were actually losing money. And she needed to come up with a ploy, a way to get some new money. Now, she knew the top players in San Diego, and she put her eyes on a real estate developer. When you're a restaurateur, a real estate developer is a close friend because you're using them to remodel your restaurants, and when you buy a new restaurant, build it out. And so she decided to tap into her knowledge of the restaurant business, and specifically liquor licenses, which not many people know about. So she arranges a dinner, and over a dim-lit dinner, she pitches to the real estate investor the following investment. She says, you know, a lot of people don't know it's really expensive to apply for a restaurant license. And you have to put up the annual fee in an escrow account that can't be touched until your application is approved. And most restaurateurs don't plan for this. So we can help them out and make a big chunk of money in the process. And what she proposed was to get investors to put up that money into escrow. And then once their application fee was approved, the restaurateur would pay back for the escrow fee plus 25% interest. And she'd split that with the investors. This real estate investor was a savvy one. And he said, well, how many people are there that need restaurant liquor licenses? And she goes, hey, don't worry about that. That's my business. I'm a restaurateur and one of the best ones. In fact, I'll give you a list of all the people applying for a restaurant liquor license, and you can actually decide which ones you want to invest in. He says, that sounds pretty good, but how do I know the money will go where it's supposed to go? And she says, hey, you're not even going to send me the money. You're going to send the money to Chicago Title. Now, those people in the real estate business know Chicago Title well because it's an escrow company, a very prominent escrow company. And she said every dollar will go into an escrow account that can only be used for one of two purposes. One, sent to the government to pay for the liquor license, or two, return to the investor. So this is a very secure investment. With that, the investor was hooked. And he decided to put in millions. And not only that, but he decided to bring along some friends. So he picked some people off a list that he wanted to invest in for their liquor license, and then he sent a list around to his friend. So unbeknowing, he became her best salesman. And over the next 7 years, 500 people would invest over $400 million in this liquor license scheme. Now, like all Ponzi schemes, Gina took some of the money, about half of it, $200 million, and paid it back out to investors as if the scheme was working. And of course, she used some of the money for the original goal, which was to prop up her businesses. But she was lured by the luxury and the easy money to start living large. She bought box seats for the San Diego Padres and the San Diego Chargers. She bought new cars for all of her family and extended family. She had multiple houses, spent $200,000 on jewelry, and then had $100,000 a month credit card fees. But like all Ponzi schemes, they eventually collapse. And this one collapsed like a waitress dropping a platter of drinks right on your lap at the restaurant table. A couple investors got spooked, called up the SEC and said, hey, we think something crazy is going on here. And when the SEC started looking into it, they realized that she had collected about $400 million. And she was using that money not just for business purposes. She was traveling in private planes to Europe and had multiple houses. So they sent in the feds and they busted her. And while they were trying to arrest her, she started shredding papers like crazy. But it was too late, too much of a record. And so she was arrested, charged with multiple fraud and security violations, and eventually sentenced to 15 years in prison. The judge didn't take kindly to her shredding all those documents, trying to hide it. Now, what's the lesson from this scam? Well, like most scams, those investors should have done more homework. If they would have gone to Google and typed in any of those liquor license applicants, they would have learned they were all bogus. They were all canceled or expired licenses. There wasn't a single license that she ever funded that was legitimate. They also could have invested time in learning about liquor licenses and how much they cost. And they would have learned that it's about $15,000 in escrow. Now, that's a lot of money, but if you're setting up a restaurant, you've got that money. Not many people are going to say, yeah, I'll borrow money at 25% interest. And there would have had to have been thousands of licensees borrowing money to support her scheme. There's only 40,000 liquor licenses in California. So simple math says it really wasn't probable. Now, Gina's about 6 months into her 15-year sentence. All of her restaurants have been sold or closed. And those closed, in an ironic twist, their liquor licenses have been sold to other restaurants. And that concludes this episode of The Scammies. I hope you're a little bit smarter so you can avoid falling prey to the next scam. If you want to get notified every time there's a new episode of Scammies, click that like and subscribe button. Thanks for watching. See you at the next episode.
How the hell did you get so fine? You wake me from a dream in the middle of the night. Damn, I could use some sleep. I've been thinking about you, how much you think about me. I love the way your skin, girl, you should be in a commercial. Never stingy, we smoke, always sharing your personal. Birds on bird, but running to you, I heard it. But first, let me get you out your shell.